Imagine waking up tomorrow in a world plunged into darkness. No light switches to flick, no phones to check, no humming of appliances in the background, just silence. But this isn't some temporary power outage. This is a world where humans never harnessed the power of electricity. A world that never experienced the spark that would ignite the greatest technological revolution in history. The year is 1752. Benjamin Franklin stands in a storm, about to conduct his famous kite experiment. But in this reality, he decides the weather is too dangerous and heads home instead. That single decision creates a ripple effect that rewrites the entire course of human history. Let's explore this alternative timeline, where one of humanity's greatest discoveries never happened. The Industrial Revolution reimagined. Step into Manchester, 1850, the beating heart of the Industrial Revolution. In our timeline, this city transformed from a modest town of 10,000 in 1700 to a powerhouse of 250,000 by 1850. But in our electricity-free world, the story takes a fascinating turn. Steam engines, the workhorses of this alternate reality, strain against their fundamental limits. Consider this. A typical steam engine of the era converted just 3% of coal's energy into useful work, while early electric motors achieved 90%. Without electricity, factories would need a staggering 30 times more coal to match the same output. Picture mountains of coal stretching to the horizon just to power what a simple electric motor could do. The geography of cities themselves tells an intriguing story. In our world, the invention of electric power transmission in the 1880s allowed factories to operate up to 200 miles from power sources. But in this alternate timeline, industries remain chained to their power sources. Cities cluster within just 2 to 3 miles of coal deposits and rivers, creating dense, cramped industrial zones where smoke and steam merge into an eternal twilight. As darkness falls, 2,000 lamplighters would emerge in London alone, tending to 80,000 gas lamps. Each lamp burned through 12 cubic feet of gas per hour, enough to heat a modern home for a day. The annual coal consumption for these lamps alone would reach 300,000 tons, releasing thick clouds of soot and carbon monoxide into the air. This isn't just an alternate history, it's a window into understanding how profoundly electricity shaped our world. Without it, the Industrial Revolution becomes a story of humanity pushing steam technology to its absolute limits, forever dancing on the edge of what's possible with mechanical power alone. Daily life in a powerless world. Let's travel back to a typical morning in this alternate 2025. As the sun rises, you're already awake, not by choice, but because sleeping patterns in this world strictly follow natural light cycles. Studies from pre-electricity eras show that people typically slept in 2 phases, with a period of wakefulness in between, known historically as first and second sleep. Food preservation becomes a daily challenge. Before electricity-enabled refrigeration in 1913, the average American family spent 44% of their time planning, acquiring, and preparing food. In our powerless world, this pattern continues. Ice harvesting remains a crucial industry. In the 1800s, New England alone shipped 25 million pounds of ice annually. Major cities feature elaborate networks of underground ice houses, storing winter ice in sawdust-insulated chambers that could maintain temperatures around 42 degrees Fahrenheit, 6 degrees Celsius. Architecture takes fascinating turns. Without air conditioning, which historically reduced heat-related deaths by 80% after its introduction, buildings incorporate ancient cooling techniques. Think of Persian wind catchers or bad gears, rising 50 feet high to capture and channel breezes. Homes feature thick limestone walls and high ceilings, techniques that historically kept indoor temperatures 15 to 20 degrees cooler than outside. Communication moves at the pace of physical transport. In 1850, a letter from New York to San Francisco took 6 months by ship around South America. Even the fastest horse-drawn mail coaches achieved only 10 miles per hour. Compare this to today's instant global communication, and you realize what's lost without electricity. This isn't just inconvenience. It's a fundamental reshaping of human experience. Every aspect of daily life, from food storage to sleep patterns, follows natural rhythms we've long forgotten in our electrified world. The hidden dominoes. But the absence of electricity affects far more than just our gadgets. Modern medicine as we know it doesn't exist. Imagine walking into a hospital in this alternate 2025. The scene would be hauntingly similar to 1895, the year before Wilhelm Röntgen discovered X-rays. Back then, doctors diagnosed broken bones purely by touch and intuition, with an accuracy rate of just 70%. Today, we perform over 3.6 billion medical imaging procedures annually, saving countless lives through early detection. But in our powerless world, those invisible views inside the human body remain forever hidden. The story of surgery tells an even more compelling tale. Before electric lighting, operations were scheduled around daylight hours, with mortality rates reaching 50%. The introduction of electric lighting in operating rooms in the 1880s dropped surgical mortality rates by nearly 50% in just 5 years. In our alternate timeline, surgeons still work in the dancing shadows of gas lamps, where every procedure becomes a race against fading daylight. The microscopic realm remains largely unexplored. Modern electron microscopes can magnify objects up to 2 million times, revealing the dance of viruses and the structure of cells. But without electricity, our most powerful microscopes would still be limited to 2,000 times magnification, like trying to understand an entire city by looking at it through binoculars from a mountaintop. This technological limitation ripples through medicine. Diseases we've vanquished through electrical medical equipment still claim lives. Consider dialysis machines, which save 7,000 lives daily. In our alternate world, kidney failure remains a death sentence. The iron lung, which saved thousands during polio epidemics, was never invented. Even the humble electrical heart monitor, which alerts doctors to cardiac problems in 90% of hospital patients, doesn't exist. The environmental paradox. Here's where things get interesting. Welcome to perhaps the most fascinating twist in our tale, the environmental impact of a world without electricity. At first glance, you might think this powerless world would be cleaner. After all, today's electric power plants generate about 25% of global greenhouse gases. But the reality tells a more complex story. In our world, electric motors convert about 90% of their energy into useful work. Steam engines? They struggle to reach 3% efficiency. This means our alternate world needs to burn roughly 30 times more coal to achieve the same industrial output. Consider this. In 2023, the world used about 8 billion tons of coal. Our powerless world would need a staggering 240 billion tons annually just to maintain similar production levels. The paradox deepens when we look at cities. Without electric filtration systems, which currently remove 99.95% of airborne particles in modern factories, urban air becomes nearly unbreathable. Picture London's Great Smog of 1952, which killed 12,000 people, but imagine it as a permanent condition. The skies over major cities would perpetually match the worst air quality ever recorded in modern Beijing, where particulate matter levels reached 993 micrograms per cubic meter. Normal is below 50. Yet there's an unexpected silver lining. Without electricity, we never developed energy-intensive aluminum production, which consumes 3% of global electricity. Modern plastic manufacturing, responsible for 8% of oil consumption, remains impossible. The ocean's microplastic crisis, affecting 100% of sea turtle species and 66% of marine mammals, simply doesn't exist. It's a world of brutal trade-offs: dirtier air but cleaner oceans, more deforestation but fewer synthetic materials, higher carbon emissions but lower electronic waste. This isn't just an environmental scenario. It's a mirror showing us the true complexity of our relationship with electricity. The social impact. Imagine a world where the setting sun dictates the end of the day. Without electric lighting, nightlife as we know it ceases to exist. The dazzling skyscrapers of New York, Tokyo, and Dubai never glow against the night sky. Times Square, a dark, empty street after sundown. Global cities, which today thrive 24/7, would shut down after dusk. The modern economy, heavily reliant on night shifts and late-hour operations, would collapse. In the US alone, over 15 million people work night shifts, contributing to industries like healthcare, emergency services, and global commerce. Without electricity, this workforce would shrink drastically. Education takes a massive hit. Without the internet, knowledge is confined to physical books, making access slow and limited. In today's world, over 6.3 billion Google searches happen daily, people seeking answers in seconds. In a world without electronics, learning is restricted to what a local library can hold. Research institutions lack digital archives, and collaboration between scientists is painfully slow delaying medical advancements and scientific discoveries. The effects on social interaction are profound. No television, no social media, no smartphones. Social connectivity shrinks to local communities. Platforms like WhatsApp, which has over 2 billion users, never exist. News travels at the pace of print media, and viral movements, whether for social justice or cultural trends, are non-existent. Even entertainment is unrecognizable. No cinema, no video games, no online streaming. The film industry, worth over $95 billion, never flourishes. Instead, theater and live performances remain the primary source of entertainment, limiting creativity and accessibility. A world without electronics is a world where progress crawls, social connections weaken, and the global community remains fragmented, stuck in the rhythms of the past. Conclusion. As we fade back to our familiar world of glowing screens and humming devices, we realize something profound. Electricity isn't just a power source. It's the force that shaped our modern world. It's the invisible thread that connects our global civilization, powers our dreams, and lights our way forward. The next time you flip a switch, remember, you're not just turning on a light. You're participating in one of humanity's greatest achievements, the mastery of electricity, a force that transformed us from creatures bound by nature's rhythms into shapers of our own destiny. That's all for today, folks. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to show some love by hitting that like and subscribe button.